Hello everybody. Since this year is so inundated with water, I decided I was going to do a video all about the water signs and what they mean. Let's not forget that all three Mercury retrogrades this year, all three Mercury retrogrades are in water signs. We've just had the Pisces one. We'll be getting the one in Cancer coming up in another couple of months' time. And then finally, there will be the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio to come. So I think it's important to understand water. Not only that, we've got the Grand Trine coming up in water signs later this year, and particularly in the middle of the year, it's extremely strong. Grand Trine with Saturn in Scorpio, where he is right now, and with Neptune in Pisces, where she is also right now, and Jupiter coming into Cancer towards the end of June. So we've got the Mercury retrogrades going on. Our communication is going to be affected by the water signs greatly. We've got this beautiful Grand Trine in water signs, which is quite rare, that's coming up at the end, in the middle of this year. So because I'm seeing so much water, I thought, right, I haven't planned this, by the way. I usually have a certain structure to what I'm going to talk about, but because this is a water video, I decided to go with the flow as well, since that's one of the things I'm going to be suggesting to you. So what are the water signs about? Well, the water signs are Cancer, Cancer the crab, and this is also ruled by the fourth house. These are the two things that it has in common. So Cancer the crab is very much about the home, the family, how we nurture, how you look after yourself, your security, your roots, your ancestry. All this is ruled by Cancer, and the fourth house has this resonance as well. So very much we're going to be looking, I think, in more detail in our lives as to what does family mean for us. Maybe it's not our blood family as we originally had been told, and maybe it is for many of us, but for many of us, I think, feeling quite lost now and looking for our family, looking for what family means to us. What does it mean? Is it an exclusive little family? Or is it bigger than that? Is it our world family? Is it about seeing everybody as part of my family rather than a stranger? These are the things that can come out from this Cancer energy. And with Jupiter going into Cancer in the middle of the year, I think this is going to be a very important part of what will be talked about. We'll be looking about the role of the family in our lives and in our world. And how can we be a part of it and really feel a part? So many people feel as though they're outsiders. How can we include everybody? Inclusive. Jupiter in Cancer is exalted, and it's about including everybody, not saying, oh, you're different from me. Essentially, we're really the same. Now, let's move on to the next water sign. So that's the first water sign. It's the cardinal water sign. It's Cancer. There's always loads to say, but I just want to give you the overview at this point. The next water sign is Scorpio. And Scorpio has an affinity with the 8th house. And Scorpio is all about, is probably one of the strongest signs of the zodiac, ruling life and death and rebirth and sex and procreation and anything that is beneath the surface. That's why Scorpios often make very good researchers or detectives, because They don't like mysteries. They want to solve mysteries. So, and with Saturn right now being in Scorpio for the next couple of years, this is going to be issues around privacy, issues around sexuality will be coming out. These are already things that are coming out, but we're going to see more of that, and maybe new structures needed to allow us to move forward in areas of understanding life and death. The veil between life and death, our understanding of death, our understanding of old age, of the body, of the changes of the body. I think all these things people are going to be seeing. We're going to see more transformation in this area and more possibilities for more of us to be able to awaken to more of a spiritual path in our lives and to feel fulfilled with that, a feeling of fulfillment rather than a feeling of lack. So Scorpio and the 8th house, very much to do with birth, rebirth, reinventing yourself, death, allowing something to die, and then allowing something to be reborn again. So I do think sexuality will come into it as well. Who we choose for partners, why we choose them. Psychoanalysis will be coming to the fore. The mind energy, what we're doing with our minds. That chatting, talkative mind that gets in our way, or using our mind to really solve our world problems and to move on to a higher vibration. And water energy very much is about healing, which leads me into the last water sign, which is Pisces. Pisces, the fish, and having an affinity with the 12th house. Just one last thing about the 8th house here. The 8th house would rule other people's resources, would rule the banks and financial institutions and insurance companies, and these under the Saturn influence for this next couple of years, I think we're going to see significant changes and upheavals in our financial systems and how we deal with money. And we too, in our own bodies, will need to learn different ways of dealing with resources. We may find that we no longer need certain things or value certain things, and we may need to find a space inside of ourselves where we're really quite contented with all the things that we have. Pisces and the 12th house. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Christianity would be ruled by Pisces. And this is very much a sign that's very musical, would rule music and the arts, anything that is very creative, the creative energy, but it also rules anything to do with healing, and particularly would rule complementary healing, healing that is done through intuition, through using psychic abilities, intuitive abilities, tuning in more to our intuition. I think we're going to see during this transit of Neptune in Pisces, where she is now for the next several years, I can't remember the exact date she comes out, but I will post it later, but it's for many years yet. And I think we are seeing a huge revolution and change in the arts, in music. I think we'll see it in fashion, in style, in dress, things that were acceptable may not be acceptable anymore, and then the same thing, we'll be having things that we thought were unacceptable to put together, people will start to put together. So huge changes in music, arts, inspiration, literature, and an uplifting, an opportunity, particularly with the trine in water, for an uplifting of our spirits, an uplifting of the planet and the people that are in it. So, and the 12th house is very much about meditation, working with your subconscious, the unconscious, and working at awakening that. And very often an awakening can happen through music, through art, through something more right brain than left brain necessarily. So I think that music and the arts are going to play quite a big role for many of us in healing as well. I think they're all going to be connected, and I think that we'll find that with water taking over is that many disciplines will run into one another. Yeah, we won't be so segregated with different disciplines, that we'll find that one can help another, and it's this feeling of flowing and breathing and getting in touch with nature again. And animals bring you into that present moment, and that's so important. And the nourishment of water. Water, of course, can cleanse. Water can be so powerfully cleansing. We can be cleansed of things. Of course, it can be very violent. If it's storming and it's tsunamis, it can be too much, or it can be a drought, it can be too little. We may well see these polarities as well as we are going through earth changes. But at the same time, it's a wonderful time for this awakening. We've been hearing it more and more. There is an awakening going on the planet, and I think that this water energy, the more that we can tune into this vibration of water, that we can be more beings. Water is not so much of a doing sign as the fire signs are. Water energy is more being and allowing and being very receptive. And remember that we can't be without water. Supposedly we are 90% water, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like that. And we need water to live, so there will be issues around water, which as well will be coming up this year, how we use water. But I think we've got scientists and very able people who can find ways in which we can utilize the resources on our planet in a much more gentle way. Water is designed, especially Pisces, and so many of you are so sensitive. And remember, water is extremely sensitive. And water rules our emotions. The emotional signs, if you've got a lot of water in your chart, you're likely to be very, very emotional. Things affect you emotionally. And we may find that we are dealing with how to understand our emotions at this time. What can we do, instead of going to these deep, deep lows and these wonderful highs, how can we have more balance in our emotions? And I think that we may also see at this time some false prophets, some people that come with false messages. I mean, after all, don't we see that in our media now? The Dow Jones is at the highest level it's been for years, and everything is wonderful and the economies are picking up. So you will have to be quite discerning as to what information you allow yourself to be influenced by, and where you need to be really clear that that just doesn't resonate with me. Question things more. Don't go too much with the flow, but make sure that you're questioning things. So I think potentially this can be a wonderful time of cleansing us, of making us new, of refreshing us. Think of that wonderful cool water on a very hot day, or that wonderful warm drink on a very cold day. So water can soothe us, and let's focus on how to soothe yourself. What can you do to soothe yourself, to soothe others? Yeah, things have been so vicious and difficult and fighting and all that. What can we do to allow a little bit more space? Space before we react, space before we jump into something. And I think this is what the water energy gives us an opportunity to work with, especially during this year where it's very pronounced. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to now have a nice hot cup of tea because it's still very cold here, and just meditate and relax. So any comments, anything you want to say? Is it very interesting that you want to share? And I thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.